Hi, everyone. Dr. Rachel here from OptimizeTeamwork.com, and I want to share with you about one of our most popular programs, and that's team building or leadership development using Clifton Strengths, aka Strength Finders. And I want to share a little bit with you about what is this? What is Strength Finders? Well, really, the Gallup organization has discovered, doing a lot of research, that the people in the workplace who understand their strengths and who understand their underlying behaviors, what motivates them behind those behaviors, those folks tend to be the most effective in their roles. And that's because having an understanding of your natural strengths is actually what's going to give you real insight into the core reasons behind successes you've had in the past, as well as potential successes that you can have in the future. And that's why with Clifton Strengths, you can actually have a reliable way of identifying what are your talents, what are those raw materials that you've been given that if you channel them, if you apply them appropriately, if you seek to develop them professionally, then you can turn them into strengths. And we see here these strength profiles from Clifton Strengths where there's 34 themes, and these themes describe how we actually build relationships, how we influence people, how we make decisions, what we sort of focus in on at work. And you can see that there are specific domains that organize these. Maybe you have a lot of strength in an executing domain, in an influencing domain, or in strategic thinking, or in relationship building. We talk about all of those things in the workshop. Speaking of a workshop, what does a sample workshop look like? Well, let me show you our most popular Strength Finders workshop. That's a 3-hour program, and it looks a little bit like this. We would introduce the program by maybe having your team leader give some opening remarks. We would have prepped the person ahead of time for that, and that's certainly optional. We can jump right into doing introductions. Then we do a very tactile and fun icebreaker activity that gets people really sort of in the mindset of thinking about strengths. Then we have a little bit of a level setting conversation around why strengths? Why do we want to focus on strengths? Why shouldn't we just focus on our weaknesses and put all of our energy and strength into shoring up those weaknesses? And we look at some of what the research has to say about how powerful you can be in the workplace when you really do lean into your strengths. Then we have each person dive into their report, and there's different reports that you can purchase. We can show you those, but they dive into their report and they start looking at what are my strengths. Maybe you're doing the top 5 report, and they figure out what their top 5 signature themes actually are. And then we do a group share out around that, and everybody shares out what resonates for them most in those top 5 themes. And it's very illuminating because people come alive talking about their strengths and how they've shown up for them in the past. Then we do a little bit of a group reflection activity. What are your go-to strengths at work in this particular role that you're in right now? And how do they show up in that role? And there I push for people to try to get really concrete, really specific about how does that strength lead to better results, maybe to productivity, to better relationships, to building rapport with customers or clients faster than maybe somebody else would that doesn't have that raw talent. And then we do an activity around strengths in action, and we really take it to the current level, the current role that they're in right now. What's a really important initiative that you're working on right now? So this is particularly valuable for any type of team, but in particular for a leadership team or a senior leadership team. And they pick a specific initiative that they're working on, and they start to brainstorm what does it look like to lean into their signature themes, their signature strengths, so that they can get better results on that particular initiative. And what I find is we don't often do that. We don't often pause to think about how do I lean into my strength when I'm executing on this particular initiative. Then we do something really fun and we look at the team grid. If it's an intact team, we look at what are all the strengths that are represented on the team? Where are our team strengths? Where are our gaps? How can we work more effectively together? And a team grid has multiple different angles that I like to look at it and show it to teams because one angle might spark one thought versus another. Here's one where we We look at the team grid based on the domains and we figure out what percentage of your team has strength in each domain, the executing domain, relationship building, influence, strategic thinking. We might also look at the team grid in this fashion, where we look at all 34 themes and we look at which ones are not represented on your team at all. And we talk about those are gaps. What are we going to do about those gaps? Are they important? Are they relevant to the type of work that we do? And who is represented? Where do we see strengths? And it's really fun to do this, as you can see, across a team, across a division, a senior leadership team. It's also fun when a senior leadership team shares their results with maybe the next level, right? Like the director level. And then that level shares their results with the next level, with the manager level, and so forth, all the way through the staff, so that folks really begin to create a common language around strengths. And then going back here, we end with some kind of an action planning conversation so that we can move from awareness to application, behavior change, making a difference with what you've actually learned. If this sounds like it could help you, talk to us, schedule a consultation. I'd love to walk through the workshop with you, this or any of our other workshops. I'd love to talk to you about who to start with, how to cascade it through your organization, what types of challenges that can actually help you with. Reach out, schedule your consultation. We'd love to talk to you. Bye bye.